What? These guys are early. What are they doing? Yeah,
The chat?
we're starting the show. No, us.
They're ready to go.
Chat's been ready to go. We don't never start the show this early, but Bobby was ready. It's a blowout, so you can camp out and get ready early. There's no drama. No need to stay in your seat. Celtics roll.
I missed the Luke bucket, though.
You did miss a Luke bucket and what looks like a fresh haircut. He looks freshly shorn. 121, 187. A laugher, Bobby. So many fun things to talk about from tonight, but I guess what we'll spend most of the show on is the differences. What did they do in game 2 that they didn't do in game 1? Did Joe coach better? Did they just execute better? Did they have a different strategy? Did the Sixers just play like dog shit? I think the answer to all of those is kind of yes. And that's kind of why you got a blowout of this proportion. And again, I tweeted it. This is why you can't quit this team, because you see them kind of play at passive 75% effort, Bobby, in game 1. And then you have them go out and do just be killers and just keep at them and keep at them and keep doing it and keep doing it. This to me was like a have faith in the process sort of game. They were doing it. It wasn't working perfectly in the first half, and they just kept doing it. And eventually it did. And they just kind of, the Philly couldn't keep up. Before we get moving, we'll tell you real quick about our sponsor, FanDuel, exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Go to FanDuel.com. Take advantage of this offer. It's a no-sweat bet up to $1,000. Means you lose, they'll give you up to $1,000 back to get a chance to make it up. It's a pretty good deal. Go check it out. There might be some other bonuses there still on the site, and some
Always
other
bonuses.
Some other things you could sign up for. If you took the Celtics tonight, which you should have, because you know what they do, they bounce back. And that's what happened. And the series is now tied at 1. Bobby, what was your main takeaway, or what kind of stood out to you? You want to start with?
I thought Embiid's return threw off the Sixers, and we'll give the Celtics a ton of credit. They took advantage of him early and often, I thought. Put him in actions, made him work, made him move. And I'm still shocked he came back tonight. I don't think there was upside to playing him here.
Right, especially after you won game 1, right? What was the point?
I don't think he looked ready. Now, I guess the argument is that this is the only way to get him ready, get him out there, get him running, get him moving. If he's healthy, I guess I can't argue against it. But they slowed down. They became a little easier to guard, threw Harden off. And, yes, the Celtics turned up the heat defensively. Per Joe, they got a million threes up and hit a ton in the second half. And I thought the passing and movement offensively was pretty good all game. So they were locked in for this one, clearly. Good adjustments once Tatum hit foul trouble. Tatum not a huge factor in this one. Brown, hot start, carried through the game. You saw Grant return and play well, and Brogdon close it out. So some guys who weren't super involved early in this series in terms of Brown, Brogdon, Grant, ended up winning you this game by and large.
How friggin' weird is basketball, though? I mean, Joel Embiid misses game 1, and the Sixers win. Jason Tatum plays 19 minutes, makes a single field goal, and scores 7 points, and Celtics win this one by 34. And, just weird. I mean, it's so weird to have.
That's something.
Yeah.
That's something the Celtics can do that almost any other team can't. Now, the Sixers did in game 1 with Harden.
Very few teams can survive bad games from 1 and sometimes 2 stars and still win.
Yeah. And that ended up turning against the Sixers in this one. Harden pretty bad. Embiid not that impressive. And that is where I want to start, is his return.
Yeah.
Shocking to me. I'm stunned. I thought they were going to put him on the bench, maybe sit him there, do some subterfuge, and keep the Celtics guessing. But he starts. He's the centerpiece. And he plays, he's on his way to playing 30 minutes before this came a blowout in the third, fourth.
Real quick, thanks for the super chat. Thank you to everybody who contributes. We do appreciate it. Funds redistributed to all of the hosts. I don't disagree with this point either. I thought Jalen did everything well tonight, including finding shooters and playing in control, yet playing fast, pushing the pace.
Good smart game, too.
A great smart game. Both of them were aggressive when it needed to be, very assertive, but kept things going. Both of them played outstanding games. But, yeah, continue on with Embiid. I just wanted to acknowledge it. Thank you for the super chat donation there. We appreciate it, honestly.
we all try to imagine what it would look like, how much he plays, how good he looks, what kind of role he's in. And I did have a difficult time imagining him coming off the bench or playing a smaller role or kind of taking an ancillary role in this series, at least early on.
Right. Is he going to be a
And it looks
decoy?
like-
Is he going to come? Is he going to play Rob minutes, 18 off the bench in 3 5-minute spurts? Like, how are you
Yeah.
going to play it, you know?
Instead, they made him the center of everything. And he didn't seem to be in the loop enough, conditioned enough, and frankly explosive enough. How many times did he finish at the basket in this game? Twice?
Yeah.
He had the rolling layup and he had the dunk
One
pass
dunk,
Horford.
one
Other
dunk,
than that,
yeah.
he was just launching
Yep.
jump shots, a couple of 3-point misses. Grant and Horford did a good job staying in front of him on those fadeaways, and he became easy to guard in this game. Now, he was great defensively, and the Celtics had to figure out how to counteract him at the rim, but they did that pretty quickly. He got all his blocks in the first half, and then they were shooting over him, and he largely was off the court in that second half.
Yep. Yeah. And there's no doubt about it. It was weird. It was, unnecessary. It was disruptive. It was so many things. But that being said, Bobby, what do you?
Well, we talked to some people, John. Remember?
Yes, and I was just going to bring that up. What are
Yeah.
you going to do? Say no to Joel Embiid? And again, we talked. Bobby was just about to say it. We talked to some people on the Sixers side of things who kind of just talked about how things run over there, and Embiid pretty much is, as many superstars do, kind of making his calls over there. When I'm ready, I'm going to play. What are you going to do? Tell the league MVP who says I'm ready to go? No. What are you going to do?
It was Embiid day at the Garden, and he was feeling himself a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think he just checked himself into the game.
What are you going to do? Tell him, okay, I'll play you, but you're only going to play like 12 minutes. You're whether he does it to you or not, you are held hostage by the situation. Grant and Marcus in the locker room right now, Tim, or eventually? You can tell us. So, and yeah, Bobby, continue. Oh, I don't know. Okay, well, whatever. That there's nothing you can do. When he decides to play, he's just going to play.
Yeah, and that's seems to be what happened here. Doc pregame was like, I don't get involved. I don't look at any of that stuff. I throw it to the staff, and medically it shocked us, right? You need lateral movement. You didn't see a ton of lateral movement from him, and luckily Embiid's game is a little straight up and down the floor. He's not getting out in the perimeter and guarding many guys. He's not breaking guys down up the dribble. He's more often than not just catching, shooting, or finishing in the lane. I don't see how more time off could have hurt him. Yeah.
I also think, for what it's worth, Bobby, this is roughly the version of him you're going to get for the majority of the series. That's the reality.
Right. There's no turning back now.
I mean, this is what it'll be.
Maybe the conditioning picks up a little bit.
I mean, yeah, he might feel a little more comfortable, but at this point, I think this is just what you got. And there's always the risk of like him just kind of tweaking it, falling, feeling weird.
And that happened a couple of times tonight.
Doing stuff. I mean, it's a knee. The thing with knee sprains, the reason it takes time is they're unstable. It's loose, it's jiggly. It's weird. It's not something you can do. And it's just, there's always a risk that you kind of just land funny and just kind of tweak it again. And it's just not going to feel right. So I think he has to play kind of like goofy and upright and, clumsy and stationary. And that's just what it's going to be for a while here. But yeah, there's nothing you can do on the Sixers side. Like, we can say it's a curious choice, but ultimately when Embiid's like, I'm playing, he's going to play. But it messed them up in a lot of different ways. It completely slowed them down. He became a focal point of the offense when he wasn't necessarily ready to do so. He can't dominate right now the way he's set up, and it just kind of messes them up. Obviously helped with the rim protection, but didn't really matter because the Celtics jacked a zillion threes, which is what Joe wants them to do. So this is kind of where I want to take it, Bobby. And I kind of tweeted something tongue in cheek So did Joe coach better tonight, or did the Celtics just go out and actually play with more urgency and then do what he tells them to do all the time? And this is why I'm not excusing Joe, because I don't think he's great at feeling the game and adjusting on the fly. I think sometimes he kind of stays very like the myopic, very narrowly focused on what he wants to do. But overall, his philosophy and strategy with what it takes for this team to win is relatively sound. And it's pace, it's movement, and it's jacking a crap ton of threes. And that's what they did tonight. They shot 51 threes. And the ball game is, you can look at the 3-point differential right now and just do the math on how the Celtics won this game. Philly shot horribly. The Celtics shot a ton. They made a ton, and they just put them away. How did this game get out of hand in the third quarter? 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Eventually, they just started to drop, and that was it.
And you love the looks they got in that
looks
first
were
half.
great, and they were
Horford
getting
missed
them
a
the right
ton.
way. They were getting them through movement.
Yeah, good offensive action in this one. I love how they brought Brown off the ball and let Smart handle things early. Smart, not only the crafty playmaking and shooting in the lane, which he continues to get better and better at as this postseason progresses, always been a part of his game, gets to use it sparingly, killed the Sixers with those in-between shots when things were tight early. He deserves a ton of credit for
But
that
I don't
and
think
making the
Joe
right play
did
in the lane.
anything in this game as a coach versus what he did in the game as a coach last time.
Well,
Look,
how about the rotations?
Sure, the rotations are fine, but also you're messing around. Tatum gets into foul trouble and different things happen. But yes, I would say going to Grant after stubbornly not going to Grant, that's a blemish on Joe's kind of record here. Whatever it was, whatever beef he and Grant had that kept him from playing him, a guy who was playing 20-something minutes a game, and he rendered him useless. And as a DNP CD, when he obviously has some use and some value, even when he's not playing great, it just allows you to round out your rotation better by utilizing 8 guys fully and then bringing in some other people if and when you ever need them. You're just shortening your bench to a ridiculous extent when he's playing 0 minutes. But yes, playing Grant more, we said that was going to happen, though, Bobby. No matter how pissed off he was at him, thank you very much for that, Catherine. Thank you very much. Even however pissed off he was, we're like, but he's going to play him against Philly and Milwaukee, right?
Held off on the tequila till the third. Yeah, and 3 games now.
Thank you, Catherine.
3 games now in the playoffs for Grant. He's played well in all 3 of them. You had the first one, the 4-for-4 game against Atlanta.
He's leading the NBA in true shooting percentage in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's hitting his shots. He's defending well. I thought he defended well. What was it? The game for one of the games in Atlanta down the stretch of that series. He defended well. Tonight, defended well. Face guarding Embiid, making him work. Point of attack defense on him. Great in this game.
But again,
man.
I do not believe, outside of a little tweaker there, that Joe's doing anything different. I really believe, to put it in Ime terms, they either play like assholes or they play the way they're supposed to play. When they play like assholes, they don't rotate. They're not. You saw what they were doing on defense tonight. They're just how much sharper their rotations were. How much.
Now that's where they adjusted a little bit.
But I think that was execution more than anything else. I just think that they were quicker. They were responding better. Smart was doing a phenomenal job.
CLNS.
Got a fan checking in.
Okay. Bob, I think
it's actually Marcus Smart's agent.
Oh yeah, I think Smart. Yeah. Oh, don't. I think Smart was phenomenal with his on-ball defense. Not saying that because his age, I think he was great quarterbacking everything. I think he was, keeping guys moving. I think everybody was responding differently. I think, like I said, even when the Sixers were able to pass the ball around and get an open look, they had to work their asses off to get clean looks. Celtics were really, really, really moving well. They were much more connected on defense tonight. I don't know that was an adjustment. They didn't it wasn't a strategy change. I just think they played better.
Yeah, and they had the Grant personnel out there. I thought Rob played better in this game too, active around the rim, contesting shots. I thought Horford's drop worked in this game. So, yeah, they essentially did the same thing there. I did see, as I said, going into this game, 0 shots for PJ Tucker. They made him actually catch the ball and do some stuff with it in this game, and he did. Score 5 points, I think, and made a couple of shots. But just getting the ball out of those key players' hands is important. What do you think the biggest difference was against Harden though in this one because he started 2 for 11.
I'll say it.
Non-factor. Really.
I'll say it again. I said at the beginning of the series, and people were lighting me up a little bit in the chat. I'm like, you'll never see this from Harden again for the rest of the playoffs. I don't care how far Philly goes. He doesn't have those games. Those games used to be things that he could do once every 3 nights. Just look at this season. I said it. What did I say? I said his next game is going to be 3 for 8. He's gonna follow this one with I honestly roll back the tape. I probably said he's going to follow this with a 3 for 15. What did he shoot tonight?
Sorry, you got a lot of traffic going by here.
What did he shoot? There it is. I said 3 for 15. It's 2 for 14.
2 for 14.
That's literally what
yeah.
So that's what I'm expecting, that it's going to happen. That he's going to have one of these games, and he had one of these games.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah, and
so, I mean, look, he hit freaking everything last game. He hit everything. They played the drop. He hit everything when he got going to the basket. They switched him out on the bigs. He hit every single shot. He's not hitting all of those step back threes on a regular basis this year. That's not who he's been this year. He's not the same dominant offensive guy. He has it in his bag every once in a while, but he was on another planet. And so it took that for them to win last game. Everyone's going to look at it and say the defense. I just think it's a tip your hat sort of game last game.
Jalen's game describes what you're talking about, though, because we know the level of defender Jalen can be, especially locking in on a matchup. And this is definitely the kind of game I wouldn't be surprised to hear in post game. He said, I got Harden, and I'm fighting through those screens, and I'm going to stay on this guy because he shut him down.
But that's what I said. Half of it was just effort,
intensity.
You gave up easy switches. You made it easier on him. He was against bigs on an island all night. I think they didn't give up the switches easily. I think guys fought a lot more. They fought harder. Smart fought harder. Jalen fought harder. They stayed with him. They frustrated him. He had a really rough night because he had bodies around him all the time. Just quicker, more athletic people than he is right now. When he's able to exploit, what the Celtics let him have last game. But again, I thought a lot of that was effort. I really do. So,
absolutely, I'm with you there, and we've largely, I think, liked Joe's performance this year. Me and you.
Yeah,
we've nitpicked it. I didn't like the comments yesterday.
I don't love all of it. I just don't scapegoat him the way other people do. I think it's again, people can have their opinions. I think it's a lazy fallback when you see something and you're frustrated by it and you're like, it's the coach. I think it's the players way more than the coach. That's always my philosophy. I don't think Joe's perfect. I think he's learning on the fly, and I think he knows that. But yes, I think he's right. I think his mindset on what he wants him to do, Bobby, is right. I think the way he wants him to play, and I do agree. It's like defense is effort. It's not what Joe has them doing. It's whether they commit on the defensive end, and then the offensive philosophy is the correct philosophy for this team. And people get really mad about too many threes. He's right. He's been right all year with it. He really has. When they score, they win. The record when they're 120 plus, Bobby, on the year is 39-0 in regulation. 3 losses when they scored 120 points, all in overtime. That's the point. Hit that mark, you win the game. So he's fine with that. That's this team's path to winning, he believes, and he's actually right about it.
Yeah, and they largely get these on quality looks. You look at the difference between pull-up jumpers, which is, I think, what frustrates us when it comes to those threes, and their active threes generate off movement and passing. There's a huge difference there, disparity in favor of the movement and activity, and that's what you saw tonight.
And this is a good point to what you're saying here, the movement. This is a good point. They're earned threes. You're right. When you move and you work it and you get the open looks, even if they don't fall early, eventually they will. But you got to stay with the process. Where you get stuck is Jason Tatum just settling for ISO pull-ups late in the clock. Those are the ones that kill you. I'm not just putting it on Tatum, but stuff like that. It's also curious that Tatum played very few minutes tonight, and it wasn't necessarily needed when they went on their super run.
So that's where I was about to go is what happened there, because he charges 3 times in the first half. This is about 8 minutes to start the second quarter. Not involved much when he's
No, but he's still plus 24 in 19 minutes, which is funny considering he was he was not impactful.
I think part of the defensive success they had tonight probably playing into that, because he certainly wasn't active or involved offensively all that much. it almost ended up being fortunate that they were able to keep the ball in Jalen's hands more, which is something I still don't really get from game one, how they lost Jalen so much, and have the guards be playmakers rather than Tatum. And they did some great stuff. Even White, who was pretty bad early, ended up making some plays late in this game through extra minutes. That's probably a guy who would have faded if Tatum played more. And then Grant, of course, benefited from that as well. I don't know. Have we seen many great Tatum games in these playoffs so far?
I don't.
Brown's kind of carrying this team.
If we start doing this, everyone's going to lose their shit. But I'm going to tell you this. Just spend a minute and go back and think of the monstrous Tatum for all the playoffs, conference finals, this and that. Go back and log in your mind all of the monstrous Tatum playoff games, and don't count the 50 burger in the one win against Brooklyn when they lost that series 4-1 a couple of years ago. Don't count that. I'll tell you how many signature games he's had in his entire playoff career. How many?
Gonna say one.
Milwaukee. The game save.
That's all that comes right to mind.
The series saver against Milwaukee. It's not that he hasn't played well.
Brooklyn, he was great. Give him credit for the great. We forget about that series.
The Brooklyn series won last year. He was outstanding. And then he
yeah.
had monstrous games in the series they lost when Jalen was out with the broken hand, whatever it was.
He had that 50 bomb.
Yeah, 50 bomb and another 40-something. But that series was just Jason Tatum gets to shoot because no one else was on the team. So those are individual performances. He's got one monster playoff performance and a series of very good ones. It's not like he hasn't played, but you're right. Jimmy Butler had more signature playoff moments last round than Tatum has had in his entire playoff career, despite Tatum being more seasoned and having more playoff wins overall. So you're right. At some point, you do want to see Tatum having his, I'm the man moments, because you need to sprinkle some of those in addition to team ball, or you'd like to see them. I think. I kind of
the game plan last game was for him to get his, and this is right from Doc. Don't double him, don't make him a playmaker, and let him score his 30 however much. And we all look at last game and see him score 1 million points, and wasn't his best game. The offense.
Remember
Bobby?
Remember the Philly game this year when everybody was out and Jalen broke his face? Tatum finished with 12 points on a miserable shooting night, and they still won that game.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I thought he made some good moves and plays early in this game. He was the one, I think, doing a good job getting at Embiid, and other guys were getting blocked the left and right.
Sorry, Dud, we went there.
It's just the charges early, slow start, ends up in a slow finish. Again, he's out there and available in the third, and I guess that's my 1 second guess from this game is why he's guarding Harden with 3 fouls, going through Embiid screens and picking up a fourth there. Because that takes him out of the third, essentially, too. So I don't think anyone's blaming him for the bad night he had tonight. Some tough calls on him, and he fades from it. But it's part of this trend that we're looking at here of him not having the best postseason, because we all know they're going to need him. Even if he's not shooting 50% and averaging 30+, he's got to impact the game in some way. And in game one, he's scoring a ton, but he's not doing a ton else. And in game two, he's largely not in the game all night. So you got to talk about it.
You got to talk about it because, again, my philosophy.
He's your best player.
My philosophy is this on Tatum, and it's not meant to be disparaging, but I don't believe Tatum is that upper echelon. Put the game on my back. I'm gonna do it all sort of star. I believe he's an elite scorer and certainly a top 10 player and the Celtics' best overall player. But I still think he's most effective. And they're most effective when he plays within the construct of a total team game as opposed to the Tatum going off games. So I just don't think you need those. I just think you need what they're doing now with Tatum being involved and Jalen being involved. Their best games are the 30-30 games or the 25-25 games when they're both doing a little bit of something and just kind of playing ball, and they're going to get theirs because they're the most gifted scorers, but not forcing it into Tatum games. That's not what I want to see and not what I think they're good at, not what I think he's good at. We've actually seen it. The things he's worst at are the things that they force him to do too much. Be a playmaker, bring the ball up, play in isolation, take pull-ups, all of those things, all the metrics show he's statistically deficient. He's not good at those things. He's much better when the thing is moving and he's active. So
Who else can you blame, John,
What's that?
for Jalen? Who else can you blame for Jalen getting 10 shots last game?
But that's what I mean is like you get out of the rhythm and you kind of put it in Tatum's hands and Jalen goes out. But sometimes Jalen has nights like tonight where he's assertive and he's like, just give me the ball and let me do my thing. And, when he did, and part of that, he was empowered because Tatum's out for a little stretch of time. But I mean, he took it over there, he just took over. Part of it was with Tatum on the court there.
He scored what
during that third quarter
13.
run, just ripped it for that.
Well, even the first quarter,
right,
to open
well.
the game.
Yeah.
13 of the first 18 or whatever it is. And you get worried. You're like, he's rolling. He looks great. Are they going to lose
disappear?
Is he going to fade out of things? Yeah. But to get back to 17 attempts here.
Yeah.
Would have been on his way to more if they had a fourth quarter here. I love the aggression. I've said it, John. I'm just thrilled. I'm amazed. I'm so impressed by where he's at because a lot of times he is playing one-on-one out there. You go back and look at the first quarter, and that's probably a lot of what he did. But guys can't stop him. That step-through move, the mid-range shooting that we talked about all year. And the finishing through tough defenders in the lane. This offense would be doomed if they didn't have him against the Embiids and the Bams and the guys who protect the rim and take that away.
Yeah, he's more forceful. I mean, this is where Tatum can struggle against, in games like this when, and look, I mean, Jalen got blocked one time going in for a dunk, maybe a couple of times, but, you've seen Tatum.
But he unlocks it with that aggression for other guys.
Yeah, he forces the issue. Look, when you play fast and hard, you put people on the defensive, you're just applying pressure on them. And that's what he does. He applies pressure on the defense.
And do you see just a tiny bit of improvement with the playmaking?
Tonight I did.
There's spurts where you say, all right, there it is.
Tonight, he wasn't leaving his feet. Tonight, he went into the lane. He found shooters at weird angles, too. I always think the classic Jaylen Brown is the leave your feet and luckily somebody's there, or the I'm out of dribbles, but thank God you're right there and I can give it to you. But he has some of those weird assists where it's like the person thankfully was in the neighborhood. But then he has nights like tonight where he's driving and kicking out and finding shooters in all over the court, and he did that a bunch of times tonight. I thought he was really good with that. So yes, tonight it looked, tip my hat tonight. Am I going to say global improvement? No, I mean he was basically a 1-to-1 assist to turnover guy again this year, and his overall numbers were roughly the same as they've been, his entire career. But tonight he played, like I said, very fast, very aggressive, and very in control, which for Jalen is like you get that trade-off. When he's aggressive, sometimes you live with 5 and 6 turnover games and, not super high assists. Tonight he played really, really smart.
Yeah, and he hit smart on that alley-oop, right?
Yeah.
Or was that Horford? It was one of those two. So Smart, great. He deserves a minute here, I think.
Smart was great.
Now. Yeah, not great to hear he's injured again.
Oh, he's fine.
He wore the kind of Isaiah style bulletproof vest, it looked
he's
like.
Fine.
Did you see him? Do you see that under there? And then he got the stinger. Fortunately, this wasn't a game in the second half because he did come into the third quarter with his arm just kind of dangling there, or fourth quarter, whenever he checked in again. I wouldn't have loved to have seen him shooting and running up the floor. Ooh, thanks, Sal. But first half, tremendous. And there was a great play where he's all over Embiid, just swarming him. And that's what's...
Sal. Thank you, Sal.
They're loving the John and Bob show tonight.
John and Bob show.
There's money flying everywhere.
Josue's coming on in a minute to free you up and head to the locker room so you can check that out.
I'm dying to interview Grant tonight. You think we'll finally get the Grant story?
I think you're getting Grant. I think you're getting lemon squares. I think you're getting everything you want tonight.
Some good cannolis here, John. You weren't in the building at all tonight, were you?
No, I didn't make it. It doesn't matter. I was supposed to, but I couldn't make it. Sometimes
John sneaks in at the beginning and hangs out, and I guess does who knows what.
I'm there.
Checks in on you.
I got to put in some appearances, right, Bobby? People got to remember.
You got to show face. The way you talk on the air, you got to show your face.
And I'm not afraid.
Anyone wants to say something?
No, but I mean, it's not just the players. I gotta see some of the people, right? I mean, I'm a man of the people, Sherrod. I can't stay behind.
I'm gonna dive out.
This is true. John is a man of the people. All 7 of them.
What's going on, Sherrod?
Oh my goodness. Marcus Smart, of course.
We just transitioned to Marcus after this 50 bomb that just got thrown in here by Sal. So thank you. But you don't get any of that because you weren't on the show.
Damn it. They knew I was coming. Now this was such a good game.
Yeah.
And this is what this series should be like. I mean, the Celtics are the better team. The Celtics have more weapons offensively, but to me, the catalyst of all we saw tonight was their defense. And it's little things that people don't really pay enough attention to that mean a difference. Like if a guy takes a shot, get your damn hand up. They were literally doing that almost every single Philadelphia possession in the first quarter, and that was huge. They showed that they were engaged. And again, I don't know how much you guys talked about Marcus, but he real subtle hustle plays that he was making all game long. Instead of going under the screens, and we've talked about this.
Exactly.
They were fighting over the top.
That was my biggest issue last game. Everyone's blaming Joe and the strategy and the drop. And I just said, no, they just gave up soft switches all night. They just gave them up. Jalen and Marcus. And tonight, both of them fought through. Way better. Yes.
Way better. And that didn't put Al in as many awkward ISO situations, which is what Philadelphia was going to. Yeah. And so this was just well played, intelligent basketball. And I don't know, I don't have the numbers to back it up, but it felt like Joe was shuffling guys in and out a little bit more than he normally does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started with Grant, right?
Yeah, it did.
It starts with Grant. When you do that, you unlock the rotation a little more because you're opening it up for an 8th guy. In fact, for a period of time, Grant Williams had more minutes than Rob Williams in the game, and I don't know what they finished up with, but he clearly had decided. I think he played 14 first-half minutes or something, or into the third quarter. So, for some reason, Grant is good again in Joe's eyes after completely putting him on the shelf. He played 29 friggin' minutes tonight.
That was more than he played in the entire Atlanta Hawks series. I don't even have to look it up to know that's
29.
Facts.
Rob played 22. Malcolm played 24. Your number one bench minutes came from Al Horford. I mean, came from Grant Williams.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He played the second most minutes on it. White and Brown each played 30. Grant played 29.
It's a little bit distorted because of how lopsided they got. But even before it got out of hand, they were still near the top in terms of minutes played, and they deserved to be out there. They were doing a lot of good stuff. Especially Malcolm. I mean, they had no answer for Malcolm at all.
None. I have no answer for whatever Josue Pavon's going to say next, so I'm going to let him go.
I mean, if you got no answer for it, then I guess I'll just talk to Sherrod.
Just talk to Sherrod.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Sherrod, that's what these type of games you get from Grant, right? If he's coming out of, he must have did something in practice, or he must have shown what he was going to do in that defensive end of the floor, because you got to earn that, and he certainly did that. The loose ball, passive, obviously diving for loose balls and keeping possessions alive is what keeps you on the floor, in my opinion. But that 3-point shot is obviously what extended his stay, and it was huge. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon responded in a big way, which I'm not surprised given. That last turnover.
He had a good game last game too, except for the turnover.
Malcolm but that's the thing. Like, that's what we're going to always remember, even after the fact. Even after tonight. So he was hoping to erase that out of our memory, our short-term memory, and in a way he did. But I'm not surprised. But Grant's contribution, a little surprised, but at the same time, we know he has that in him. I mean, that's the thing. It's just him. Finding it consistently.
I'm not surprised that Grant had a good game. Do what
you do well.
Right, Sherrod. But
shoot open threes, play defense.
No. But it's good.
But he playing within himself is the key, right? That's all we say is don't try to do too much. Take your threes when you get your shot and play your defense. That's all he has to do to get minutes, right?
And the number 3 thing on the list, John, keep your mouth shut and just play. Because you notice there were a couple times where Grant had like a legitimate beef with a non-call that didn't go his way. Rather than getting all demonstrative and all that other stuff that we saw during the season, he just played ball. And it's taken a while for him to embrace that reality that for him to get on the floor, you have to play well, you have to leave the refs alone, and just keep it moving. Just keep it moving. This was. I'm not surprised Grant played well because remember, Embiid was out there for a number of those stretches earlier, and Embiid can't move. It's obvious that he is not anywhere close to being at the MVP level that we've seen from him. And give the Celtics credit. They were able to run their offense until they would get that matchup with about maybe 10, 9, 8 seconds left, and they would just go at it. They would swing the ball around until they got one of their wings, matched it with Joel, and they'd attack. And when they on defense, they were swarming him. They were forcing him to give up the ball sooner than he wanted to. This was Joe Mazzulla again. This was he had a good game plan. The guys executed it well, and that's why this game got so damn lopsided so quick.
And they stuck with it. They believed in it. They didn't deviate because it was still closer than you wanted it to be through the first half, even though Philly wasn't playing really well and they weren't hitting their shots, but they kind of stuck with it, especially on the offensive end. The effort stayed up. You saw like on the TNT broadcast, Doc talking like, you know, they're beating you at every ball. So part of it was just simply like the generic, they wanted it more, but that's how it works. Like there's a reason why people talk about that stuff. There's a reason why 50-50 balls matter, why effort matters, because like so many of those plays come down to just who wants it more, who's willing to commit. But philosophically, they did what Joe wanted them to do. They kept the spacing, they kept the movement, they kept moving off the ball, and they shot a crap ton of threes, which is what he says is the key to their success. You know? Did I lose you guys?
No, I was going to give Josue a chance to talk, but obviously Josue is here to just congregate. I mean,
y'all too cool for me today. I don't know. I can get in here. All right, cool.
I'm trying to be a team player and get Josue involved in the offense.
I appreciate you.
Let's get him some reps. I'm gonna get him some Grant minutes tonight. Okay, Josue's getting Grant minutes tonight.
No, I mean the one guy who was at Joe Mazzulla. I mean, I don't know. Whenever y'all ready, I guess. Let me know when I can get in here because it's interesting. He talks about the Celtics not taking as many threes as they should have in game one, and then he pointed out to the fact that they scored more. They took more threes almost throughout that first half than they did the entire game. So obviously that's a part of his game, and he's going to stick to that. But clearly, defensively, he's also wanting to see this guy step up in a big way. But it was interesting to see because I was always going into this one. I felt a little. I mean, when Bobby comes on, I don't know if he told you or not, but I was like, man, if the Celtics don't make their 3-point shots, this could be a really long night. And I hate to sound like, what Bobby said that this team is a win or die by the 3-point, but some of that is true. But at the same time, though, they reminded me of that defensive side of them. How everyone, it's a all hands on deck type of approach, and we don't see that enough. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, that's what leads to them prolonging best of 7 series, and that's what happened essentially in game one. But at the same time, while Joel Embiid helped on the defensive side for Philly, I feel like he sort of slowed things down overall offensively, whereas the Philadelphia 76ers, that up-tempo offense, that run the floor, get open shots, that was what killed the Celtics in game one. So as Embiid did help him in defending the paint and getting those 5 blocks, it sort of hurt them in a sense because it changed the way they were playing in game one, where I think the Celtics had a hard time in defending them.
I'm just going to say what people don't want to acknowledge and embrace about the Sixers team. There are certain teams that they are better without Joel than they are with. And I think the Celtics are one of those teams. There's a reason why the Celtics have had his number for so many years, because when you put him around guys that can run the floor, can get out in transition and knock down threes and do all that stuff, they're pretty damn tough for they're
swarm
tough
him, smack the ball around, frustrate him when he gets it right.
Think about this though. Joel comes back. They go 6 for 20 on 3-point range. James Harden, who was killing the Celtics, had as many 3-pointers made as John, Sherrod, and Josue combined. And that sucks if you're a Sixers fan. That sucks if you're Doc Rivers. How do you get Joel to continue to be impactful and yet get the guys who want to get out and run able to get out and run? And if Sixers, they haven't been able to figure that out. And the Celtics, they took advantage of Joel, knowing that, yes, he's a great low-post threat and he can stretch the floor from time to time, but those other guys are the ones that kill you. their ability to get out in transition and get easy buckets and swarm you and do all those things that they did in game one, you're not going to do that with Joel Embiid on the floor. And if you're the Celtics, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Here's you guys were talking about Joe and how he coached and how he performed. Joe heard you guys out there in the chat. Joe heard some of the media.
Sure.
About some of the critique. Here's Joe Mazzulla with a little mic drop sort of reaction to how he coached today.
Obviously, how significant was it to get the fourth quarter to rest some guys?
Yeah, pace. I thought that's it. We got stops, and then we were able to get out and run, and we got great looks, and we made the right play every single time. Nobody wants to ask about all the adjustments we made from game one and game two.
Obviously, how significant
People
was it?
did, Coach. They did, but I pick up what you're putting down. I like it.
Okay, Josue. Okay, Joe. Okay.
I like it.
Look, he's
That's
interesting. That
Joe
makes me smile. Not just because they won, but that Joe is. I mean, that is the interesting stuff I want to see more about from Joe Mazzulla.
Right.
Give me that.
But he's sticking to his guns, though, Sherrod. You get what I'm saying, though? I feel like it's like,
But
okay, we made adjustments and all, but I'm going to stick to what I want them to do out there.
Not really. That's what I've been saying from the start of the show. And like I said, I kind of tweeted it. Did Joe coach better tonight? Did they make adjustments, or did they just play better and do like the game plan, like what you're supposed to do, and just execute it better? And I think that's what happened. It's not like Joe was like, oh, I tried this new strategy tonight. Like, with the exception of bringing Grant in a little bit, which he only did because Embiid played. And it's not like it was like this brilliant tactical move. It was just natural that would happen. They just played better. So again, that's why I think it's always just a little bit lazy to just be hammering on Joe, every time that they lose and be like, he sucks, man. Like, no, man, they sucked last game. They didn't play with urgency, no defensive intensity, gave up all of those soft switches, let Harden eat all game long. But what Joe wants them to do when they do it, for the most part, they are effective. I think he's right with it. I think he's been right all year. I think this team wins with offense, knowing that defense is about effort. That's been his philosophy. It's not like I'm going to sit there and coach up the defense and come up with these exotic things that we're going to do to people. We're going to play hard. We're going to do what we do on defense. We're going to try to maintain our overall defensive identity, but we got to score points, and we got to do it this way. And that's his formula for success. And the reality is he's actually been proven right time and again in terms of what's been successful for them.
Right. But I just feel like, again, it's the consistency, and it's a pride thing too, right? I mean, especially in the playoffs, it's always about pride, especially when you're a top-notch team like the Celtics, and guys are gonna give you that type of effort, coming off of a loss like in game one. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it is the guys, but you give Joe Mazzulla certainly credit because these guys work their asses off for him, obviously. But yeah, I also thought he would make other adjustments. I was wondering if it would take other, outside the box adjustments, and it didn't. It clearly buckled down to guys just showing effort on rebounding and defending, but especially in transition, guys getting back and just constantly keeping that pressure on Philly. We didn't see that in game one. We definitely didn't see that in game one.
Joe had another one on that, just talking about kind of mindset tonight. And I'll tell you this, both Bobby, I was at, actually Bobby, not today. I was at shoot around today. Small little things that you just kind of notice, like Al and Malcolm are two of the more affable, loquacious guys. When it comes to the media, they indulge you, they answer your questions, even if they're dumb TV questions about, what's the emotion? How's the feel? Like, that's how they are always. They're just really good. And Al was short and brief, and Malcolm wasn't making eye contact. They were pissed. Like, Malcolm talked about anger and frustration after game one. Al was like, yeah, we're ready. Like, they were not having it, which is rare for those kind of guys. And here's Joe talking about the mindset of the players.
Joe, your team said this morning that they were angry, frustrated. Could you sense from the beginning of the night that they were going to play like they played, especially on both ends of the floor?
Yes.
And what did you like about that from the get-go?
They were angry, frustrated.
Facts, my guy.
There you go, Joe. There you you go. There you go. Listen,
He's so mad at you guys and all of you for everything you said after game one. He heard all of it.
and he is absolutely he's feasting off of that.
Oh
Feasting.
my God.
Guys down for the first time in the playoffs, and he's in his feelings.
It's like a monster that grows stronger with all of your, he's just, oh my God, is that lit?
Bring on the heat. Bring it on.
Oh,
He's
that's
feeling
terrific stuff right
great.
there.
The thing, but see, here's the thing. The flip side to that is that when you have games like this and you look at how they execute and you listen to what Joe says, it's not going to happen every night. You know that. But the effort should be there every night. The desire to play that way should be there every night. And that's the one thing I still question about them. As Jimmy reminds us all the time, you have some trust issues with this team because you don't know if you're going to, not so much the actual execution, but just the effort. Like the way that for example, and John and I were talking about this before, instead of going under screens, go over them. Don't give them that airspace. Even if you got to pick up some cheap fouls, because I thought Tatum picked up a couple of fouls trying to just go over the top. And you live with that because that's sending a message that you are not giving them clean ass looks behind a 3-point line. There's a reason why James Harden was 0 for 6 on threes tonight. And it wasn't just because he had an off night. It's because they did not let him get comfortable behind her. He did not get clean looks behind the 3-point line. And when he finally got maybe one or two, he was off because he hadn't established the rhythm. That's what you have to do against teams like this.
Even the mid-range was off too tonight. Remember how much that killed the Celtics in game one? I mean, that's just what tough defense does, especially when it knocks you off balance. And in the paint, Harden wasn't getting the same kind of calls that he got in game one. So it's good. I mean, it's clean defending, especially in the paint, and just a lot of energy from the second unit for sure.
Yeah. Real quick, we're going to hear from Jalen and Malcolm, and Bobby's about to join us in a minute. Tell you quickly about FanDuel. America's #1 sportsbook, exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. And again, a deal right now, which means you can go and lose up to $1,000 and they'll give it back to you in bonus bets and a chance to make up your dough. So a really cool deal here. If you want to, up to $1,000 back in a no sweat bet, as they call it. Get your no sweat bets up to $1,000 when you go to FanDuel.com/Boston. Once again, that is FanDuel.com/Boston. Make sure you check it out here. And let me see if I have it right there. Celtics. Yes. No sweat bet. See it right there. Scan it, get it. Athletic Greens also there. For those of you who want to kind of, get up and feel healthy and feel good about yourselves, go to athleticgreens.com/garden. Take advantage of a special deal where you get 5 free travel packs, year supply of vitamin D. Athletic Greens, if you don't know about it, terrific supplement, 75 vitamins, minerals, adaptogens, probiotics. Put it in one scoop, cup of water, start the day. Suits any diet. It's keto friendly, paleo friendly. If you're on a gluten-free diet, it doesn't matter. You can take this. There's virtually no sugar in it at all. It's good for your immune system, recovery, clarity, mental health, focus, literally everything that you're probably going out and getting a million different pills and supplements. You get it all here with Athletic Greens, athleticgreens.com/garden. Take advantage of that gift and this gift right here when you do. Submit your receipts.
Yeah, show the other gift too.
Awesome T-shirt.
And then show that Marcus clip.
Once again, and I want to get the Marcus clip. We're gonna play Jalen and Malcolm real quick right now.
This morning you said you were angry, frustrated. What did you like about the response of your team tonight?
Simply that we responded. We were resilient. I thought it started with JB. He set the tone. It's about setting the tone for the next game. This is one game. They came out and played a great game. The first one, James played great. I thought tonight we, flipped the script. I thought we did a great job on him and great job overall. But that's one game, and it doesn't mean anything if there's no carryover.
What about the offense you got cranking there in that third quarter? How nice was to see you guys get rolling on those threes?
Yeah, it really started with our defense. We were able to get stops, get out. The shots get easier when you get stops, when you're not getting the ball out of the net over and over. So we're getting open shots. We're shooting with confidence.
There we go. We got Bobby Manning. Bobby, do we go right to it right now?
Yeah, let me just say first that, as we said in the opener, John, Joe did a phenomenal job tonight. Everybody say it with me. Phenomenal.
Okay.
I got that shirt ready for Philly too.
All right. So
I just got it finally.
This is good stuff. This is I believe. Well, let me try to load it up
I
here.
can fly.
No, I believe I can fly. Hold on, let me get it.
If you play the one about your rod, I'm gonna lose it. That'd be a funny one.
Hold on, I'm gonna get it. Okay, ready? All right, here we go. Playing it now.
We expect Joe to be perfect, okay? Sometimes we forget, this is his first year in this spot with the reins, and he's doing a phenomenal job at it. Shout out Bobby. He's doing a great job.
Phenomenal job! Shout out Bobby.
Hey, hold you guys put that on t-shirt. Look at that.
This is a full circle moment, John. From
Hey,
shut the fuck up.
Marcus should get a T-shirt for that. Marcus should get a Garden Report T-shirt for that, dropping a phenomenal line.
We're absolutely
I'm rocking
giving him
it
one.
this weekend.
Yeah.
Dropping in his locker. That's
Now
great.
everyone's gonna be asking for him now.
Listen,
I have noticed in recent seasons the usage of the word phenomenal in quotes go through the roof.
It is
it's one of Doc Rivers' favorite
Yeah,
words.
it's one of those things that once you point it out, you start hearing it more and more often. But
It's a great word. I used to get a lot of crap on here for using it, but it's a great descriptor.
No, because you would use it to describe ordinary things. The
like
word is
everything.
fine.
Yeah,
Right.
or every good
Cornette's
thing.
underscore
who
is
is-
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Was Joe phenomenal tonight?
So again,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
he was
Joe did anything different. I just think he's
He was
been
good.
But that you're right. It's a full circle moment. Sherrod, this Marcus going from telling Sherrod to shut the F
It was
up and the
Sherrod,
guy
Yeah, man.
and
Splice those two together.
for something that I said, which I feel bad about, call out the Garden Report a couple of years ago to the shout out to Bobby for phenomenal. I love that. That's a full circle. It's amazing. That's really
Beautiful.
funny.
Well,
It really is
I'm
funny.
just
That was what? That was 2 years ago too. Huh? Everything changed.
That
I'm
is
just glad
funny,
I got
funny
I'm
shit.
just glad I got credit for the word because it looks good in a quote. It really does. That quote's gonna go down in a lot of articles today. It's gonna look good in there.
Yeah, that's how I said he.
Okay.
He was-
Josue, I gotta mute you. There's way too
Yeah,
much going on there. Yeah. Go
Nah,
ahead.
he was
Sherrod.
really good. I mean, just little things, and I have to harp on this because I think they sometimes forget that it's the little things that make them a great team. It's the little things like going over screens, tilting versus blitzing versus showing on Joel. Just little things that they did throughout this game that remind, I think, the world that this team could beat the crap out of you if you don't respond and if they play their game. Like we got the lower third there about this is the largest loss in 76ers playoff history. And the sad part about it is, I mean, think about it. They emptied the bench for the entire fourth quarter. That's another adjustment on Joe's part. Usually he keeps one of those guys in because, that 30-point lead might disappear, in the next 10 minutes. So good for Joe.
Yeah. That was good. Again, but look, for better, for worse, we have talked about it. He's legit. He's pretty sensitive. And if it works for him, fine. But I mean, he's been this way all year. He hasn't liked being second guessed. He acknowledges that he's kind of figuring stuff out on the fly, which opens you up to criticism. But he doesn't like it. And I mean, this is how he responds to it. And again, we've mentioned it, our friend and, your podcast partner, Gary Washburn's been on the receiving end of a few of these. He doesn't like being asked certain things. And, he snaps back.
I love it.
He's really short with people. There's nothing more disrespectful than answering in one word. You know what these people do for a living. They're going to take 20 seconds to ask you a question. You can't just say yes. Like you're cutting him off at the knees there, but he does it all the time. And because he's pissed. He's pissed. He doesn't want to freaking hear it. And again, I'm Bobby and I have been on this side of things. I've been here to defend him. I don't think he's perfect, but I think he's got the right idea of what makes this team hum. I really do. I just think he's still learning how to read games and how to adjust and how to do things on the fly. And sometimes he might not seize the moment or stray from what it is that he wants that needs doing. He needs a little more flex. The games where he shows it, you'll see it and be like, okay, Joe did something tonight. Some others he just kind of stays on his path and it doesn't always necessarily work. So again, I wasn't putting game 1 loss on him. I'm not putting the game 2 win on him either. I just think the blame is always a little bit weird.
Funny because they said
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I just think
that's my thought. That's what I always think. Yeah.
Well, it's a long series, but I just again going into this game, I was like, if the Celtics win this, it's going to be a lot of 3-pointer shots, makes, right? And I feel like that's a big part of it. So you're wondering what happens when that's not the case in Philly, and can they still keep this defensive intensity when it's not coming off of a loss like we saw in Game 1? I mean, that's still a question, right, guys? I mean, it's not one of those things where like, oh, this is the series is turned the corner here and something's going to take off. I mean, we gotta wait to see what they look like in Philly. But yeah, it's a good win. It's a great character win. It was a great response. At least it shows obviously this team has some resilience, and at this level, you should expect that out of these guys. But holding them defensively the way they did, well under 100 in this game, it's not something I predicted going in. So that's a surprise. But does that fall on Joe Mazzulla? I mean, you got to give him some credit, but at the same time, a lot of these guys is just a heart and soul of guys just wanting to respond and play with pride.
The reason I don't think it's a Joe thing, guys, is because like we've seen it with 3 coaches. That's the thing, is like I don't think it's a Joe blame situation. I don't think it's a Joe credit. When they want to motivate themselves or when they want to, Ime had a plan too, and his plan was very defensive minded. He wanted them to play a specific way on defense, and he drilled that into them. Obviously, every coach is going to say defense matters, get stops, that turns to offense. But Joe is hyper focused on what they do on the offensive end of the ball, and I really do believe he thinks defense is really more about will and effort. When you show up and you play, your defense is going to be good, but you got to do these things on offense to be good. And that's what he's always been. He's hyper-focused on the offensive side of things. And we saw what it was doing at the start of the year. And that's when they were playing their best basketball, when they were playing that brand of basketball. And that was fueled by their offense. Obviously, you can't have one without the other. But again, it's just different approaches with each of those guys. And we've seen the players respond to varying, degrees. To both coaches and even to Brad prior to that, with one night looking like world beaters and another night, like Ime would say, looking like assholes.
I missed that reference.
I love it.
Again, as you pointed out, John, Joe is figuring this stuff out on the fly. He literally is flying in the dark to a certain extent, and I give him a lot of credit for evolving as the season has progressed. I mean, a lot of the things that we harp on and we point out that he's just totally getting wrong, he doesn't consistently get those things wrong. He figures out how to work around those things. When you look back at Game 1, he saw the same stuff we did, and then some. They were going under screens. So what do you emphasize for Game 2? Don't go under, go over, and just fight for that.
That was a big difference tonight, Sherrod, for sure. I think, John, you said there wasn't a ton different. I do think defensively they switched some things up for sure tonight.
Sure.
Grant being out there allows them to do some different stuff on that end. I thought he scrambled into some doubles and
but you have to, when Embiid plays, you have to have a slightly different strategy. So you're not going to have the same exact blueprint.
Yeah, and they dropped Rob, I felt like, too. Sherrod, he was at the rim pretty much the whole game, just guarding it. And stunts off Tuckers and some other guys. They said they were going to do that, and they did tonight. So even if I didn't love Joey's comments about it being offense, not defense, that needed to be fixed after last game, clearly behind the scenes they were tightening up some things defensively that allowed them to have the game they did here tonight. Because this was a defensive victory as much as it was a big shooting night.
Well, the defense,
totally.
We've seen this over and over and over again. Their defense often dictates blowout wins. When you look at it, they don't blow teams out because they're knocking out every shot known to man. They usually blow out teams when their defense gets stops and they get out in transition, or they get defensive stops and they run their offense and they run their sets and wear teams down over time. And the thing about their defense that we've talked about is just the ability of the wings to stay attached to their men, that they didn't have to switch nearly as much defensively as we saw in Game 1. And that, to me, that's often the telling sign of whether they're having a good game defensively or not. Not so much how teams are shooting, but are they being forced to switch consistently? And when they don't have to switch, they like their matchups, as they should. You like seeing, Jalen and Tatum matched up with their guys. You don't like to see Al Horford out there trying to guard James Harden. You don't want to see him switched out on a wing like Tobias. You want him to stay with whoever the big is out there. And then they did a good job of making sure that was the case most of this game.
Absolutely. I love seeing this defense play well. We got a little double big tonight too, John. I always like to see that.
Again, you assume that's going to happen more when you're playing a team like Philadelphia,
So is that where we are now? Are you almost glad to see Embiid out there because you know how to match up with him, you know how to play him, and he's this diminished version of himself?
Sherrod said it earlier.
It's a whole new series.
Sherrod said it earlier that there's certain teams. I'll let Sherrod say it for him. In some matchups, Embiid doesn't always help you.
Yeah, this is the Celtics are a team where if you're really looking at the history when Joel is out there, you're looking at the way they play when he's out there, it's clear that they're a better matchup against the Celtics when he's not playing than they are when he is, because they're able to get out and run. They're able. I think they cause more matchup challenges for the Celtics because they're smaller, they're quicker. I mean, that's as long as Joel is out there, you know that the pace is going to be slowed down. And all you got to do defensively is just keep swarming and try to confuse him. And that leads to turnovers. It leads to rebound opportunities, which leads to transition baskets for your team. So Joel is a great player. Not trying to crap on him. He deserved the MVP award this year, no doubt about it. But there's enough evidence that shows that Philly plays a better brand of basketball against Boston when he's not around than they do when he is.
Yeah, and it's what's the one win they had this year? A 50-point game when he makes 85% of his shots.
And the Celtics had a chance to win it at the end.
And the Celtics were missing players and still had a chance to win it at the end. And Embiid has to go off for that number in that game, and for them to barely squeak one by. We said after that, we said on that postgame show, if you're Philly, you got to feel like shit. Like that's a one-off. Like if you need that 4 times to win a series against this team. You have no shot. It's why people were generally confident with a Celtics-Sixers matchup. It's like we've seen it enough. The matchup's not great for Philly. It's just not, and it's way worse for Philly with Embiid on one friggin' leg. He's not moving well at all. If he's going to be and this is what we said is if this is roughly the version you get out of him for the series, that you're not going to see Game 1 Philly again.
And with games every other day, it's not like he's getting a bunch of downtime to get healthy.
Yeah,
no off days. Yeah, no off days. Only Jimmy has off days.
Oh, they're gonna fight him.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised at the same time though, because Sherrod, you were around Doc a lot. I mean, this is what he does, right? Like he said in the pregame, like that's so Doc when he said, if you're healthy, you're playing. Like if you're available, then you're playing. And this is why he's also doesn't make that call, right? Because he's just the one that's saying, look, if you're giving me the green light here, then I'm never going to be opposed to my star player playing in a playoff game. Like we need him out there. So, but at the same time, I mean, maybe it would have been better for them to rest Embiid.
But I don't think they will.
Games 3 and 5.
Right, Josue.
Your star's ready to play. He's playing.
This would have been the game to rest him because you already got what
It'd be hard to know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have played him.
I don't think they have a choice. And Bobby and I were talking about it.
You need to get him out there at some point. Yeah.
But also,
talking to some of the Philly guys, Sherrod, and they were like,
the MVP
when he wants
award,
to play, he plays.
The way the entire team was there on TNT last night. I mean, all that's relevant. I mean, the fact he kept saying, like, we're celebrating for 5 minutes and it's back to business. It was almost as if, like, they knew. I don't know. It's one of those things, if you're Dog, I mean, you make that call and you're thinking you're going to ride the wave.
They should have brought him off the bench.
And then everyone else is down. But the Celtics shut that down. And they shut it down right away.
They should have brought him off the bench. Good. Yeah, they should have carried over what they did from last game. And
why do you feel that way, Bobby?
Because
I don't think it makes a difference. I don't know.
I don't think he was ready to be the centerpiece of everything they were doing. He should have eased into their offense, into their rotations, into everything they were doing. Now, he got a lot of defense out of him in the first half, certainly, but it felt like he disrupted their pace. spacing, and certainly Harden to some degree. I don't know.
I thought the biggest difference was the way they defended him. I thought that was the difference. They did not allow him to get comfortable. When he was trying to beat guys off the dribble, try to go ISO ball, the Celtics did a good job of staying in front of him, forcing him to give it up. And when he was looking to shoot off of those screens and those, double screens and the stagger screens, the Celtics did a good job of staying attached to him, whether it was, Jaylen Brown or Tatum fighting over the top of those Joel Embiid screens. Sometimes they got called for a foul. Sometimes they were able to stay attached with him. But the bottom line is the effort to stay with him was there throughout the night. And I don't know if it frustrated James, but it certainly impacted his ability to score. He literally missed every single three-point shot he took in this game. And this looked like the James Harden that we've seen throughout
Harden with one day off
of the regular season. This is the James Harden we've seen.
He's hot and cold. It's what he's been all year. He's still amazing. He can do so much. He's so smart. He's such a good passer. He just runs that pick and roll exceptionally. He's just not Houston step back in your eye 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 James Harden. That just hasn't been. He was on Monday. He's not alpha James Harden. He was on Monday, but I'm saying that's why I didn't expect that to happen over and over. He's still capable of doing, incredible things. It's just you're just looking at him in this, back nine version of Harden. That stuff just happens less frequently. That's all. So when you see it once, I just don't think you're going to see another takeover game like that again. Doesn't mean he's not going to have, a 25-14 game next game and be incredibly impactful. Of course he can, but 45 hitting every single shot in people's eye over and over and over again. It's just, that's not how he rolls as much anymore.
Yeah, Philly, I'm not really sure what adjustments they're going to look to make because, the elephant in the room as far as adjustments is figuring out what can you get out of Joel and figuring out how can you blend the things that worked well in game one with what Joel does going forward. I think it's a huge dilemma for Doc to figure out how to make that happen because the Celtics are, again, with Joel out there, they're built to withstand him and what he can do. Without him, the Celtics they look to have a little bit more trouble. Guys get a little bit more open, and that's again. This is where Doc is going to earn his money. If they're going to come out, it has to be on him to figure out a way to make this work. The players, we know what they can do talent-wise, but Doc has to figure out again how to be more effective and more impactful with the team, and not just one guy or a set of guys.
Did you guys hit on Grant?
Oh, totally. Both his impact and just the amount that he played.
Yeah.
Speaking of impact or lack of impact, did you guys hit Tatum? I don't think we talked about it.
So Bobby and I did, but we didn't want to spend too much time on it because first off, the chat would have lit us on fire and and turn this into, what are you talking about Tatum for? We won. And
I think it's great when you can do that, though. How many teams can have your best scorer have the worst game he's had in years, and you win? You don't just win; you beat the snot out of the team.
We mentioned that. And again,
he's plus 24.
That Philly win where they were missing everybody, the Celtics earlier in the year. Tatum had a horrible night. 12 points on miserable shooting, like 3 field goals. And that was the night they were out everybody. They were out 2 bigs, and Jaylen broke his face, and I think Brogdon was out too. And they won that game. And that was like the Philly low point of the season. Like, what are we going to do? We lost this. We can't beat them like this. Tatum had a garbage game. He had a garbage game tonight. It didn't matter at all.
Yeah, the question is, and Sherrod, you're right. They're capable of doing this. We know that. They're probably the most interchangeable team in the league, top to bottom, in terms of being able to sustain guys being out. This is effectively Tatum being out tonight. The amount he played,
but he wasn't happy, Tatum. By any means. Like, they were winning, but he was like, he really didn't love how tonight went at all. He didn't like it.
Definitely not. No. So how do you integrate him for Friday's game?
You want to put his fingerprint all over this win.
How do you integrate him for Friday's game now? That's the question, because you did a lot of things tonight without him out there.
Do
Now
nothing
you have
different.
to weave him into the offense.
No,
It's different though when he's on the ball.
Run it
John,
back.
at the point of
Just
attack.
run it back. Just
Just-
run it back.
Just let the guards be guards and have everyone else just be there. Okay, they're gonna get theirs. It's gonna happen. You know, you don't have to force feed people. You don't give it to them and get the hell out of the way with 12 seconds left on the clock and let them go to work. Just play ball. The ball's gonna find them. You know, that's just what's gonna happen. Just play ball. That's when they're better. I caught this. I knocked it off the table and caught it. Just like that. I love that.
Well, Jalen took.
It's going to be interesting to see.
So that's good. He set the tone on defense. He was all about it on offense. He wasn't the guy who sort of disappeared in those middle quarters like in game one. So,
and that's what I liked about the three. That's what I liked, Josue, about the 3 fouls. If there was anything to like about him, was you had said, okay, Jalen's going to be at the center of everything that's happening now. And he was playing so well that needed to happen. He needed the extra minutes. He needed the extra touches. I think one of the Joe criticisms from game one as well was that they pulled Jalen after that hot start. You couldn't do that when Tatum hit foul trouble there. So just feed. You talk about not feeding anyone individually, John. If you're going to do it for Jalen in the lane, because he's going to score. He's going to make good decisions out of there. He's going to keep this offense driving and aggressive and proactive. I'm just thrilled with where he's at in his game right now. He's just so forceful, and this team needs some forcefulness on both ends, and he brought it tonight.
Yeah. The chat is asking for one more taste of the Joe Mazzulla soundbite, so I'm just gonna play it one more time. This is
Give it to him.
This was the anger and aggression one. Yes, we talked about it.
Love it. Love it.
I'm gonna give it to you guys one more time. Hold on. I'm trying to find the thing here. There we are. Here's Joe. Here's Joe being asked about the players' attitudes tonight.
Joe, your team said this morning that they were angry, frustrated. Could you sense from the beginning of the night that they were going to play like they played, especially on both ends of the floor?
Yes.
It's never.
What did you like about that from the get-go?
They were angry, frustrated.
I can't stand when he does that to me.
You guys ever wonder?
It's the worst. And Dan Roach did
Bobby,
nothing.
I can always tell too because you have a quick response right after, which is good. You should don't just go quiet.
I got used to that too, because sometimes I would just sit there silent too.
Roachy did nothing to deserve that. Oh my goodness gracious!
You guys think he watches this and laughs? I don't think so. I feel like maybe his friends.
I don't think he's laughing at this.
Roachy or Joe?
I don't think Roachy's laughing at it.
Oh no, Roachy's not laughing. I'm saying Joe, or maybe Joe's boys. Like,
Watch his press conferences after.
Yeah, like,
probably. Here's the end of the press conference one more time, just because people really dig it.
Obviously, how significant was it to get the fourth quarter to rest some guys?
Yeah, pace. I thought we got stops, and then we were able to get out and run, and we got great looks, and we made the right play every single time.
Thank you, Joe.
Nobody wants to ask about all the adjustments we made from game one and game two.
It's that there's two things. There's an underrated thing. First of all, the stare down at the end. He walks and he's still looking like that. Number two, did you listen to the answer to the first question? How important was it to get guys rest? Yeah, we did good. We got stops. We got out running in transition. He answered a totally different question. He didn't at all. Listen to this answer.
Obviously, how significant was it to get the fourth quarter to rest some guys?
Yeah, pace. I thought we got stops, and then we were able to get out and run, and we got great looks, and we made the right play every single time.
That's not what they asked.
I love it.
One thing you can say about him, John.
Whatever he wanted, and then he just was like, "So what's up now?" You know, adjustments, and just walked off. It's ridiculous.
I love it.
It's Tom Petty. It's so petty, but it's so funny.
I think we want complex and maniacal coaching a lot of the times, and angry coaching, I think, too, is something this chat wants a lot. But the one thing about Joe that I think is absolutely effective is how simple he keeps the message, how repetitive it is, and how he narrows what's important. And we've talked about this, John, like that. what he's looking for is simple.
Yeah.
The threes.
Yeah, he's
lack
also
of turnovers, the free throws, the pace.
But he's also a crazy person. Like, so you know.
I don't know how that plays over. I think Marcus is starting to get into it a little bit. You're seeing,
he is,
right? Because
he's like, all right, I'm getting it.
After the barrel roll in Miami, remember where Joe like rolled past him or whatever in the locker room. Adam asked him, "Is that like a thing? Like, does he do that?" Mark's like, "I don't know what that was." That's just Joe. Good. I think he's got too much sugar.
Oh, it's so good. And, you know, just like I said, we're playing our greatest hits. We'll give you one more Marcus.
One more time.
You know, everybody's, you know, we expect Joe to be perfect, okay? Sometimes we forget, this is his first year in this spot with the reins, and he's doing a phenomenal job at it. Shout out Bobby. He's doing a great job. You know.
You see Corrales' neck? He was like, wait, Bobby Manning? Like,
Bobby freaking Manning is who got shot.
Yeah, Bobby, bro. Yeah. Marcus watches the.
Throw up the T-shirt. Do we have the T-shirt, John, in the graphics here?
No, I don't anymore. I might have one here. I'll come back.
Maybe we should put them back up for sale after the free advertising. That.
Bobby's like, where's my check? Before you came on, Bobby, I was just saying how like I finally got one of those shirts and I got it ready for Philly. I was like, where I'm gonna rock this on one of our off days, and now I'm 100% gonna rock it for sure.
Definitely, I'll pull mine out as well. You got one, Sherrod?
Sherrod's like, nah, I'm cool.
We gotta get Sherrod one. I think next.
Sherrod will take one, but I don't know if he'll rock it.
I will take one.
Nick's in process of sending one to Marcus. I think that's his priority right now, but we'll get
one.
We'll get you one as well.
Marcus can have mine. That's all. My guy can have mine. That's
here we go. All right, full screen this.
Hey.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
It's about to
I would almost
put sales, but they're not even sales at this point, right? It's just if you guys sign up for what we tell you to sign up for, you can get one of these.
You get them. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
See, everyone's gonna want one now, but you should have signed up for the sponsors before. We said it 1,000,000 times.
I know, but Bobby, it's not punitive. You can still do it. You still have this option. Yeah.
For phenomenal.
Yeah, sure. If you want phenomenal, if you want phenomenal, we'll give you phenomenal.
All right. I like it.
The game was phenomenal. This show so far has been phenomenal. I think we'll just kind of wrap it and say thank you guys for hanging out.
On to Philly.
On to Philly. The whole gang is leaving me once again. Jimmy's in like the Azores or something, and you guys are all going.
Is he on tour? Like, I'm starting to think he's got like dates. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a big tour going on in New England or something. But good for him.
Yeah, no, he's doing his thing. He's just living his life. So Jimmy's doing the Jimmy thing, and you guys are all heading to Philly, and that's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be fun. So we do.
John, you cheesesteak guy?
I'm an everything guy.
Right, as you should be, but Bobby isn't, which I think is kind of weird, right, Bobby? You're not a cheesesteak guy at all. I was like,
I'm not a steak guy in general.
Are you like
steak at the Garden's amazing?
Are you like a haddock steak
yes.
guy? What kind of sandwiches do you eat? Fried haddock?
Fish sandwich, yeah. Chicken, I love chicken.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You get Bobby a good steak and cheese.
Steak and cheese, though, just not. I love an Italian sub, that's for sure.
Oh man.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. I mean, whatever. I mean, steak and cheese is the king of all sandwiches.
Is it?
Yes. I mean, Italian for the cold cut, steak and cheese for the hot.
I feel like that's a Northeast thing too. I mean, obviously Philly's Philly, but I feel like New York, Boston, like we're very passionate when it comes to our steak and cheese, our sub
turkey burger,
the sub shops, if you will, right?
John's not big on the turkey burger.
I eat them, but I mean, we can't list them among like favorite like sub shop guilty pleasure sort of foods. I eat plenty of turkey burgers.
Turkey burger is like I'm at a cookout, and that's the only option. You know what I mean?
Hey,
it's not my first pick.
It's on my list every other week or so.
No, it's in my rotation. I eat it, and I'll substitute it for, red meat all the time, just to kind of, for health
I don't know
purposes.
what it
But
is
it's
about
not.
the steak and cheese. Maybe I'll give it another shot while we're down there. Let's
Yeah, you should.
try it again.
I don't know what the best places are anymore. I know gyms. Like you're not going. Don't go to the Pat and Geno's things. That's garbage. Go to gyms.
the
or,
tour spots,
Tony
yeah.
Luke's. You're right. There's other better ones there. So
Lisandro's the one I hear the most, like
do a
from the
little
people who are
research.
there.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Josue. That is a good one.
That is a good one.
Right, Sherrod, that's the one I hear often. I think,
Yeah.
outside the tour spots.
Yeah. Anyway, phenomenal game, Joe. Friggin' legendary press conference tonight. Even if it is kind of, I feel bad for our media brethren who got stepped on a little bit there because I don't think anybody.
Nobody want to
deserves
ask
that.
about adjustments.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, Rochi did nothing there. Rochi's not there. Rochi's not there grinding him on adjustments. He's there just, kind of doing his thing. There's no reason to friggin' go at Rochi like that.
Oh, that was so priceless. I love Rochi. That's my
Rochi's not that guy who's sitting there friggin' dogging Joe on Twitter. And
he's not.
Where's Shaughnessy when you need him?
He's going along to get along here. Like, what the hell are you doing that to Rochi for? That's not cool. But anyway, so be it. We're good. Bobby stepped out, so he doesn't get to say bye. But fun show and good win. Celtics are back. 1-1 game. Thank you guys for hanging out on the show and the chat. Pretty much full house all the way through. Very few of you have left, so we appreciate you hanging out this late. We will let these guys do the rest of their work, and we will see everyone in Philly on Friday night. We'll hopefully see you guys back here then too. Take care.